All right. Well, that's that fight. Let's see. Then it's the last boss, KT. So, uh, this fight has two phases. First is you don't actually fight the boss at all. It's just the technically three phases. Okay, I should say three phases. First phase is just ads. So man, when did they pull? All right, there you go. So you want to have everyone move up, and then once you get to the middle, the event starts. You can have everyone back at the door because there's ads that spawn. So if you have people are lagging behind and standing over there, you're gonna be in trouble. First phase is for a set amount of time. You see, it's like 5 minutes. There's going to be three ads that come at the raid. First one are going to be, and they'll all come at different times. You don't need to go and pull the ads. You want to kill them as they start running towards the raid. So you don't want to start pulling all of these. First thing will be those little skeletons that you see there, the soldiers. Um, those will just run towards the raid, and if they get to the raid, they detonate and deal uh, like 3,000 damage to everyone. You don't want that to happen. It's pretty essential that those die right away. They're ranged focus on those. Um, they don't really do anything else except for that. The unstoppable abominations. This is what the melee are going to be focusing on. They do a stacking debuff on the tanks that reduces the healing they take. Same thing as Gluth or Finkris. They have a stacking mortal wound that tanks need to make sure that they're watching and they don't just keep applying that. So multiple tanks will have to make sure that they are rotating out who is taking which, and sometimes you'll have multiple of these. But melee is just going to focus on these because it's the only one they can really kill. Um, and then the last one is the Soul Weavers here. So the Soul Weavers do a bunch of damage. Like was it 7,000 damage and knock back to the three nearest players. So melee can't go in on these. Also bad if those make it to the raid. So they move very slowly. Skeletons move a little bit faster. They still don't move fast, but if you're not paying attention, if everyone's over here focused on killing, one of the soul weavers, and then a skeleton like sneaks up on the raid from the other side and blows up, then it's an issue. So we'll have certain people who are dedicated to just watching out for the skeletons. It only needs to be a couple people because they die pretty quickly. Majority of the range they're going to focus on the soul weavers, and the melee will kill the A bombs. Now I do believe that I don't think you can use pets here because if you put a pet in, it's going to take the damage from being close to them. Plus, you'll pull the shit on the ends, so don't send your pets in, please. Maybe you're able to, but I don't think so.
No
No
multi-shots.
multi-shot either.
Please God, no multi-shot. I
Yeah,
know
no
I know the
phase
value of
one.
multi-shot, but oh man.
Only multi-shot. Pull the entire room. Everything.
And then I know Verse said it, but it's really imperative that no one's AFK at the start of the fight. Because if one person's back there, it's not just it's gonna pull and we can like get through it. It's gonna do that AoE explosion, just kill everyone in 2 seconds. So there's no like recovery from doing that.
Yeah, and don't run into the middle early. So what we'll do is we'll all move up towards the middle and stop. Like, please don't just jump around and accidentally like activate the middle because then we just wipe.
I love that dude just made a soul shard.
So
You'll need them for the wipes.
and this just goes on for about 5 minutes. After that, then KT will unlock, and you'll be damaging just him. Um, the ads will go away, and then you need to um, spread around the room evenly. So I'll start talking about some of his abilities. I kind of let the rest of this play out so we can kind of talk about it a little bit and then go into it. We're gonna be taking him like in the middle of the room, and the entire raid needs to be spread out at least 10 yards from each other, aside from the melee. The melee are going to be stacked in 3 groups around the boss, and then 1 spot for the tank. So there'll be 4 equidistant spots around the around KT, form like a box or diamond around the boss. Reason for that is there is an ability that he uses that's called Frost Blast, which will do 130% of your maximum health within 4 seconds, and it chains to anyone else that's within 10 yards of you. So if the melee are all stacked together, then all the melee are going to get hit if one of them gets hit with that ability. Now, and you can't just have the melee out completely, or you'll lack the damage to do the fight, and you won't have the interrupts and whatever else you need. To combat that, that's why you have 4 melee groups. One is just the tank by himself, so that he doesn't get frozen. Whoever's tanking, and then the other 3 groups will be the other 3 spots around the boss equally. So 2 of the groups will be attacking from the sides, and one will be attacking from the backside. It's important that you don't try to just like stand between, just so that you can reduce your parries or whatever else is going on. It's super important that you stack really tight and attack from maximum melee range. So that's one of his bigger abilities that he uses. And like I said, the reason that the melee need to be in there is because it need to interrupt one of his other abilities, which is Frostbolt, which he uses pretty frequently on the main tank. It does like 10k damage to the main tank, 10k damage, somewhere around there. So if you don't interrupt it, the tank is either going to take just a ton of damage or very likely die. It has like a 2-second cast speed, and he can spam it. So need to make sure that we're kicking it, but it's also going to have to make sure that the groups are coordinating which groups are kicking it, so they know who's on cooldown. And it can't just be one person, because that person can miss. So ideally, what it's going to be is there's 3 groups, and it'll be like group 1 will kick first, then the back group, then the right group, and then it'll just rotate between the groups. So that's the way that it's going to work for how we coordinate the kicks. Like I said, because if everyone does it, which I don't think that would happen, but if everyone kicks and then he uses it again after that, well, now we don't have an interrupt unless we somehow know that everyone is already on cooldown and a mage uses a counter spell. So that's the biggest things for the melee. Are that there's a lot of abilities here. So this is why 4 Horsemen might be the most technical fight. I actually think it's KT, just because of how many things there are that's going on. So as you can see, when KT comes in, the ads that aren't already engaged disappear, but you still have to deal with the ones that are existing. So you have to be careful. Like if you saw the Soul Weaver that was over there, you can't just run. You just can't run over there because you think, oh well, the fight's over, so I'm gonna run over there. Because he still has his abilities that will do like knockbacks to whoever's near him and do just a ton of damage. So deal with the ads, deal with KT, and then spread out. So other abilities that he has is, as you can see here, mind control. He will do a mind control that will always, it's called Chains of Kel'Thuzad, but every 60 seconds, he'll mind control 5 people. And it will always include the tank and 4 other random people. They'll do increased damage. If you're a healer, you're going to start healing Kel'Thuzad for 500%, or if you do damage, it's 200%. You'll also buff him and throw buffs onto him. But you can still be CC'd, so people can polymorph you, they can blind you, they can stun you. So when that happens, a couple of things need to happen. One, everyone needs to be CC'd. So if you can CC. Just do it. Don't worry about, oh, well, someone else might do it. If you're close by and there's an ad near you, and you're a mage, sheep it. If you're a warlock, just fear that person. Just CC if you can do it, because we don't want those people running around killing people or killing the boss. Also, what will happen during that mind control, the tank gets mind controlled, and it's a threat reset. So his threat will drop, and a new tank will have to pick it up. There is a very unlikely situation where the tank and all of the off tanks get mind controlled. It is possible though, because it's 5 people. So if that happens, a DPS warrior has to be ready to pick it up, and hopefully throw in a shield, and people have to watch threat. But that is a world that's possible, unlikely but possible. But all the off tanks have to be ready to pick it up, and basically, I would say just stay in the groups that they're in around the sides until someone gets threat, and then whoever has that threat at the start will move into the tank position at the front. Everyone else should be stopping DPS for a moment. So when mind controls get ready to happen, let night drop. As the mind control is happening, like when people get mind controlled, stop attacking. Do not attack until a tank has established threat, because if he starts, especially if it's arranged, if he starts running around, then it's probably a raid wipe. So you have to stop your cast. If you're in the middle of casting a shadow bolt or whatever's going on, just stop. Don't let it go off. If you accidentally throw it and a mind control comes early for whatever reason and you get threat, you just pop a lip, because if he starts running around, it's a wipe. Now, on top of that, he does have a couple more abilities that you need to watch out for. So there's also Shadow Fissure, which you can see over here on the left. This is blocking a little bit, but you see this really like pink magenta looking color over here on the ground. It's sort of telegraphed. You'll see this rune up here underneath you. It'll be about 3 seconds, and then after 3 seconds, it like shoots up in the air. Anyone inside that's going to die. You're going to take too much shadow damage that no matter what you do, you're going to die. I do think that you can use a bubble, but I think if you're thinking about that, you just move. It's pretty easy to move out of. Melee groups, if it's underneath you, you just move back. So don't move to the left or the right, because you may chain the frost blast, which will freeze. So if you have a group here and there's another group on the right, if you strafe to your right to avoid the fissure and it hits you, you're going to hit 2 groups with it. The fissure disappears after it goes off, so it doesn't just sit here the whole fight and keep doing damage. Just back up, let it do its thing, and then you can go back in. As you can see here, look, it goes, it went up in the air, and then it's just disappeared. It doesn't just sit there. So if you're melee and it goes under your group, just back up, back straight up. I wouldn't S key. I would like camera churn and get out, or strafe jump out backwards. But wait for it to go off, and then you can go back in after it's gone. So as you can see here, everyone that gets mind controlled, it's super obvious. They turn dark. They get these chains around them. They're enemies. So all of these people need to be CC'd, and the group can't panic and start getting real close. So everyone needs to like stay where they're at and just CC these targets. Yeah, tank needs to pick it up. Groups need to reestablish around the boss. And that will happen every time there's a mind control. And the last thing that he does in this phase is, you see that frostbolt volley. So that frostbolt volley will hit everyone, and it does about, 2750 to 3500 damage. And it makes you move slower too. And he does that every 15 seconds. He just hits the whole raid with that. It's just a lot of damage. And so there's just, any one of those mechanics is not really bad by itself, but it's just that there's all of it happening at the same time that makes it difficult, because there's just a lot going on. And you have to maintain your space. You have to worry about CCing. You have to worry about threat drops. You have to worry about just a bunch of damage coming in. You have to worry about zones that you have to move out of. You have to worry about interrupting, having interrupt rotation. Um, there's a lot of things happening. So on top of all of this, at 40%, then what's going to happen is there's going to be portals that open up, and there's going to be these big Nerubian crypt lords that come out. I think they kind of look like a Nubricon, um, similar model, and there'll be 5 of them that come out. So they're called Guardians of Ice Crown. Um, they can be shackled. They can also be frost trapped. But you can only CC 3 of them. If you try to CC more than 3, then Kel'Thuzad will dispel all of them. So you can only ever have 3 shackled. Shackle's the most reliable CC for them because they're undead. They have a self buff that does gives them plus 15% to their damage and increases their size by 10%. And this just continues to stack up to 99 times. But other than that, they just do a standard attack. So they need to be off tanked by a couple of tanks. But keep in mind, during that time, there's still all of the other abilities going on. So you have tanks that are holding those. You have priests that are CCing the additional ads. But those tanks that are taking those ads also can be mind controlled, including the tank that's being mind controlled here. Which means that then those ads also have to be picked up, and they cannot be CC'd because otherwise that breaks the other CCs that are going out. So this entire phase, have to make sure that people are not, so as much as you can't use multi-shot in phase 1 or similar abilities, you can't use it in phase 2 for the most part, because you'll just break random CCs. If you do it between mind controls in phase 2, that's fine, but once you get to phase 3 and there's like those shackles up here, I wouldn't touch the button. Wouldn't go anywhere near it. I would just do my regular abilities, because if you accidentally hit one, then it's a big deal. But you can see they don't all come in at the same time. They sort of filter in. So generally you shackle the first 3, and then you tank the last 2. But they're not really that hard. It's just another layer on top of all the other like 6 or 7 other abilities that are going off at the same time. And then if you get to the end of the fight, KT dies. So does anyone have any questions about that?
Sort of. For a couple expansions.
I expect to wipe more in this fight, honestly, than 4 Horsemen. So it'll just because there's just a lot of points of failure, and it'll just be one of those fights that no matter how many times you do it, you probably just always have a chance to wipe week to week on it because of just bad mind controls or whatever is going on. Yeah, so I don't know if anybody has any questions or comments, concerns, but the last boss. I know they didn't kill him, but that was the whole fight.
So pretty much just a simple tank and spank when you think about it.
Yes, really at the end you just tank him and also spank him. Yes.
Easy peasy. Actually doesn't sound that bad from a range DPS perspective. Get off the fissures, single target damage.
Yeah.
I'll fire yourself to death during a wipe, as is tradition.
I will say you are right. It is easier as a ranged, because all you have to do is just get to your spot and hang out there, right? You just DPS, and if you have crowd control ability, use the crowd control ability. But pretty easy if you're a ranged DPS. A little bit harder if you are a healer, and I'd say it's a lot more responsibility for the melee on this fight.
If you don't kick a frostbolt, Verse will die.
Promise?
I think you mean de-spell.
Yeah. Dispel the frostbolt.
Like the frostbolt hits for like 9 to 11k. Kel'Thuzad also melees for like 8k unmitigated. It's not a good combination.
All right, that is the end of the video.